The gun clicked against Amara's temple, cold metal biting into her skin as rain poured down around them. Her hands instinctively wrapped around her swollen belly, 7 months of secrets she'd kept hidden now exposed in the most terrifying way possible. Did you really think you could hide my child from me? Min-jun's voice was deadly calm, more frightening than if he'd been yelling. His dark eyes blazed with a fury she'd never seen before, not even during their most passionate nights together. Did you think I wouldn't find out? She couldn't stop shaking, but she lifted her chin defiantly. This baby has nothing to do with you. He laughed, a bitter sound that cut through the storm. Nothing to do with me. I have the DNA results right here, Amara. From your doctor's office. My blood runs through that child's veins. He stepped closer, his designer suit soaking through as he pressed the barrel harder against her skin. You have exactly 2 choices. Marry me tonight, or I take the baby the moment it's born. And trust me, sweetheart, you'll never see either of us again. You can't. I'm Min-jun Kwon. Head of the Kwon family. I own half of Seoul's underground and 3/4 of its surface. Tell me again what I can't do. Thunder cracked above them as Amara stared into the eyes of the man she'd once loved, the man whose child grew inside her, the man she'd run away from 6 months ago. The man who just found her in Busan, dragged her from her tiny apartment, and was now giving her an ultimatum that would change everything. So what's it going to be? Min-jun demanded. Will you marry me, or do I make you disappear and take what's mine anyway? Hey everyone, before we dive into this intense story of love, betrayal, and impossible choices, make sure you're subscribed to the channel because we post emotional Afro-Korean romance stories just like this one every single week. Hit that like button if you're already hooked, and stay tuned because this story is going to take you on a wild ride you won't forget. Now, let's go back to where this all started, 3 weeks ago, before Min-jun found her, when Amara thought she was finally safe. Amara had been working at the small cafe in Busan for 2 months, serving coffee and pastries to tourists and locals who never looked at her twice. That's exactly what she wanted. Anonymity. Safety. A chance to raise her baby far away from the dangerous world she'd left behind in Seoul. She'd changed everything about herself. Her long braids were now cut into a short natural afro. She wore baggy clothes that hid her pregnancy until recently. She'd even changed her name on all the documents she could, going by her middle name, Grace. But she should have known better. Min-jun Kwon wasn't the type of man you could just leave. He was the type of man who burned down entire buildings to find one person. The type who had connections everywhere, eyes everywhere, power everywhere. She'd met him 10 months ago at an art gallery in Gangnam. She'd been in Korea for only 3 months, working as an international business consultant, and her colleague had dragged her to the opening. That's where she'd seen him, standing in front of a painting that cost more than she'd make in 5 years, looking bored and dangerous and devastatingly handsome. You don't like art? She'd asked, emboldened by the champagne. He'd turned those dark eyes on her, and she'd felt pinned in place. I like beautiful things. That painting isn't one of them. Then why are you here? The artist owes me money. I'm deciding whether to collect it or let him live. She should have walked away then. Should have recognized the danger in his smile. But instead, she'd laughed, thinking he was joking. That's quite a decision to make at a party. I make life and death decisions everywhere. He'd stepped closer. I'm Min-jun. And you are the most interesting person I've seen all night. Amara. And you're either a very dramatic businessman or something much more dangerous. Can't I be both? That had been the beginning. 3 months of the most intense relationship of her life. He'd pursued her relentlessly, showed up at her office with flowers, took her to restaurants where everyone seemed terrified of him, introduced her to a world of luxury and danger she'd never imagined. She'd fallen hard, despite the warnings from her friends, despite the obvious signs that Min-jun wasn't a normal businessman. She'd ignored the phone calls he took in the middle of the night, the way his guards followed them everywhere, the deference people showed him that went beyond respect into fear. And then one night, she'd seen him kill a man. She hadn't meant to. She'd gone to his penthouse to surprise him, used the key he'd given her, and found him in his office standing over a body while two of his men wrapped it in plastic. He'd looked up at her, gun still in his hand, and his expression had been almost apologetic. You weren't supposed to see that. She'd run. Made it all the way to the elevator before he caught her, pinned her against the wall with his body. Let me explain, he'd said. You killed someone. He betrayed me. He sold information about my operations to a rival family. He knew the consequences. Your operations. What are you? I think you know what I am, Amara. You've always known. You just didn't want to admit it. He was right. She had known. The signs had all been there. Min Jun Kwon wasn't just a wealthy businessman. He was the head of one of the most powerful organized crime families in South Korea. I need to leave, she'd whispered. No. His hand had cupped her face with surprising gentleness. You're mine now. You know my secrets. You can't just walk away. Are you going to kill me too? Never. He'd kissed her then, desperate and possessive. I could never hurt you. Don't you understand? I love you, Amara. You're the only real thing in my life. And God help her, she'd believed him. She'd stayed. For 2 more months, she'd stayed, telling herself that love could exist even in darkness, that Min Jun kept his violent world separate from what they had together. Until the night his enemies had tried to kidnap her. They'd grabbed her outside her office, thrown her in a van, and driven for 20 minutes while she fought and screamed. Min Jun's men had intercepted them, and the resulting shootout had left 3 people dead. Min Jun had pulled her from the wreckage himself, wild-eyed and covered in blood. Are you hurt? Did they touch you? She'd been in shock, numb. People died because of me. People died because they dared to touch what's mine. I'll kill anyone who tries to take you from me. That's when she'd realized she needed to leave. Not just leave him, but leave Korea entirely. Because Min Jun's love was a cage, beautiful and luxurious but a cage nonetheless. His world would consume her, destroy her, maybe even kill her. She'd started planning that night. But before she could execute her escape, she'd discovered she was pregnant. The test had shown positive on a Tuesday morning, and she'd sat in her bathroom for an hour, trying to figure out what to do. She couldn't tell Min Jun. If she told him about the baby, she'd never escape. He'd lock her down, surround her with guards, make sure she could never leave. So she'd accelerated her plans. She'd told him she needed to visit a friend in Busan for a week. He'd been reluctant but had agreed, sending 2 guards with her. She'd managed to lose them at the train station, disappeared into the crowd, and had been running ever since. For 6 months, she'd managed to stay hidden. She'd thought she was safe. But 3 weeks ago, everything had started to unravel. She'd been at the cafe, wiping down tables during the afternoon lull, when a man in an expensive suit had walked in. He'd looked out of place immediately, too polished for the casual beachside establishment. Coffee, black, he'd ordered, his eyes scanning her face a little too carefully. She'd served him with her head down, hands trembling slightly. When he'd left, she'd found a business card on the table with a message written on the back, "He's looking for you. Run farther." She should have left Busan that day. But where would she go? She was 7 months pregnant, running out of money, and exhausted. She'd convinced herself she was being paranoid, that the card was meant for someone else. 2 days later, her doctor's office had been broken into. Nothing was stolen except her medical files. That's when she'd known for certain. Min Jun was closing in. She'd packed what little she had and planned to leave for Jeju Island the next morning. But that night, he'd found her. She'd been climbing the stairs to her apartment when a hand had clamped over her mouth, and she'd been dragged backward into a hard chest. "Hello, sweetheart," Min Jun's voice had whispered in her ear. "I've been looking everywhere for you." She'd struggled, but his arms had been like iron bands around her, careful not to hurt her but impossible to escape. "Let me go." Never again. He'd turned her around, and she'd seen his face for the first time in 6 months. He looked different. Harder. There were dark circles under his eyes, new lines around his mouth. Do you have any idea what these past months have been like? Searching every city, following every lead, thinking you might be dead. I wanted you to think I was gone. Because of the baby. His hand had moved to her belly, and she'd flinched. Yes, I know about the baby. Did you really think you could hide my child from me? This baby deserves a normal life. Away from guns and violence and death. His jaw had clenched. This baby deserves its father. And you, his voice had cracked slightly. You don't get to make decisions about my child without me. I made this decision to protect. That's when he'd pulled out the gun and pressed it to her temple, leading to the confrontation in the rain. Now, standing in the storm with a gun to her head and an impossible choice before her, Amara tried to think through her panic. Minjun's eyes were wild, desperate in a way she'd never seen before. This wasn't just about the baby. This was about her leaving, about her rejecting him, about her taking away the one thing he'd ever truly wanted that wasn't about power or control. Well, maybe it was about control. Everything with Minjun was about control. If I marry you, she said slowly, what kind of life would our child have? Growing up surrounded by violence. Watching people fear their own father. Maybe even watching you kill someone like I did. Minjun's hand shook slightly, but the gun didn't move. I would protect our child from that world. Keep them separate, safe. Like you tried to keep me safe. I was almost kidnapped, Minjun. People died. And I killed everyone responsible. He pulled the gun away suddenly, running his hand through his wet hair in frustration. I tore apart 3 organizations to send a message. No one will ever dare touch you or our child again. That's not the life I want. That's not the life any child should have. Then what do you want? He grabbed her shoulders, searching her face. Tell me what you want, Amara, because letting you go isn't an option. It never was. She could see the truth in his eyes. He meant what he said about taking the baby. Minjun Quan had the power, the resources, and the ruthlessness to make her disappear and raise their child alone. She could run again, but he'd found her once. He'd find her again, and next time he might not be willing to negotiate. I want our child to be safe, she whispered. I want them to have choices I never had. I want them to know love without violence. I can give them that. I can give you both everything. Except freedom. He flinched as if she'd struck him. Is that what you think? That I want to cage you? Don't you? You just threatened to take my baby and make me disappear. Because I'm desperate. The words exploded out of him. Do you know what it was like when you vanished? I thought someone had taken you. Hurt you. Killed you. I burned through every contact, every favor, every resource trying to find you. And when I finally discovered you'd left on your own, that you'd chosen to leave me, he turned away, shoulders rigid. That was worse than thinking you were dead. Despite everything, despite the gun and the threats and the fear, Amara felt tears burning in her eyes. I left because I love you, she said softly. Because staying meant losing myself completely. You consume everything, Minjun. There's no room for anything else when you love someone. He spun back to face her. Then let me learn. Teach me how to love you the way you need. But don't ask me to let you go. Don't ask me to live without you and my child. You can't change who you are. What you are. I can try. He stepped closer, holstering his gun and taking her hands in his. Marry me. Not because I'm threatening you, but because we can figure this out together. I'll give you space. I'll keep the violent parts of my world away from you and the baby. He paused, and she could see how much the next words cost him. I'll even let you leave if that's what you truly want. After the baby is born, if you're miserable, if you hate me, I'll let you go. I don't believe you. I've never lied to you, Amara. Not once. Even when the truth was ugly, I never lied. His thumb stroked over her knuckles. 6 months. Give me 6 months after the baby is born. If I can't make you happy, if I can't prove that we can make this work, I'll let you go. You'll have full custody, financial support, everything you need. And if I say no right now? His expression hardened. Then I do exactly what I said. I take the baby and you'll spend the rest of your life trying to find us. Is that really what you want? To be on the opposite side, searching and desperate like I've been? It was still a threat, just wrapped in prettier words. But Amara could see he meant every word of the offer. 6 months. Could she survive 6 months with Minjun? Could she actually make him understand the kind of life she wanted for their child? More importantly, did she have any other choice? 6 months, she said finally. But I have conditions. Relief flooded his face so completely she almost didn't recognize him. Anything. I want a separate room until after the baby is born. I want to choose the doctor and the hospital. I want to continue my prenatal classes without your guards hovering. And I want your promise that our child will never, ever be involved in your business. Done. All of it. What else? I want us to go to counseling. A therapist. To talk about all of this. He looked uncomfortable with that one but nodded. If that's what you need. And if you ever point a gun at me again, all deals are off. I'll disappear so completely you'll never find us. Guilt flashed across his face. I wouldn't have shot you. I could never. I know. But you scared me, Minjun. You can't love someone and terrorize them at the same time. He pulled her close, careful of her belly, and buried his face in her neck. She could feel him shaking. I'm sorry. God, Amara, I'm so sorry. These past months, I've been losing my mind. When I found out about the baby and realized you'd been pregnant this whole time, alone and hiding, his voice broke. I snapped. She let him hold her, rain still pouring around them, and tried to ignore how right it felt to be in his arms again. She'd missed him, despite everything. Missed his intensity, his passion, even his overwhelming need to protect her. But missing someone didn't mean they were good for you. We should get out of the rain, she said quietly. It's not good for the baby. He immediately pulled back, shrugging out of his suit jacket and wrapping it around her shoulders. My car is around the corner. I have a hotel suite prepared. Your things from the apartment are already there. Of course they are. She couldn't quite keep the bitterness from her voice. You really do think of everything. I've had weeks to plan what I'd do when I found you. He guided her toward a black SUV, hand protective on her lower back. I just hoped it would go differently than pulling a gun on you in the rain. How did you picture it going? I'd find you, you'd be happy to see me, we'd cry and reconcile and live happily ever after. He opened the car door for her. I may have been unrealistic. Despite everything, she almost smiled. Just slightly. Make sure you're following this journey by hitting that subscribe button and turning on notifications because this story is just getting started. Comment below whether you think Amara made the right choice or if she should have run. And keep watching because the real drama is about to unfold. The hotel suite was exactly what she'd expected from Minjun, obscenely luxurious with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the ocean. Her meager belongings looked ridiculous sitting on the king-sized bed, a sad little pile of second-hand clothes and worn books. I had my assistant order some new clothes for you, Minjun said, gesturing to the closet. Maternity clothes in your size. If they don't fit or you don't like them, we can get whatever you want. Amara walked to the closet and found it full of beautiful, expensive maternity wear. Everything was tasteful and comfortable looking, nothing too flashy. He'd actually paid attention to what she liked. Thank you, she said stiffly. Minjun loosened his tie, looking uncertain in a way she'd never seen before. He was always so confident, so sure of himself and his power. But right now, In this hotel room with her, he looked lost. Are you hungry? I can order room service. Or we can go out if you prefer. I'm tired. It's been a very long day. Of course. The bedroom is through there. I'll take the couch. She raised an eyebrow. This suite has to have more than one bedroom. It has 3. But I'm not letting you out of my sight until I'm sure you won't run. At least he was honest. I agreed to 6 months, Min-jun. I keep my word. So do I. But forgive me if I'm not quite ready to trust that you won't disappear in the night again. He sat on the couch, spreading his arms across the back. Go rest. We'll talk more tomorrow. Amara wanted to argue, but exhaustion was pulling at her. The emotional roller coaster of the evening had drained her completely. She went into the bedroom and closed the door, half expecting him to follow. But he didn't. She changed into one of the new nightgowns, soft and comfortable against her skin, and lay down on the bed. Her hands moved to her belly, feeling the baby kick. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry for bringing you into this mess. But I promise I'll protect you. Somehow. The baby kicked again, as if in response, and Amara closed her eyes, willing sleep to come and give her a brief escape from the impossible situation she was in. She woke to sunlight streaming through the windows and the smell of coffee and pastries. For a moment, she forgot where she was, forgot everything that had happened. Then she felt the baby kick and it all came flooding back. Min-jun was on the phone when she emerged from the bedroom, speaking rapid Korean in a tone that made it clear he was giving orders. He looked up when he saw her, immediately ending the call. Good morning. I ordered breakfast. Your prenatal vitamins are on the table. She looked at the spread of food, her stomach rumbling despite her emotional turmoil. Fresh fruit, pastries, yogurt, and an assortment of Korean breakfast items. And yes, her prenatal vitamins, the same brand she'd been taking. How did you know which vitamins I take? Your medical files. I had someone get the same ones. Right. He'd stolen her medical files. She sat down and picked up a piece of melon, trying not to think about the violation of privacy. We need to go back to Seoul today, Min-jun said, pouring her a glass of water. I've been away too long. There are things I need to handle. I don't want to go back to Seoul. I have a penthouse there with better security. And the best hospitals for when you give birth. I had a doctor here. A hospital I'd chosen. And I'll arrange for you to have the best doctors in Seoul. You can interview them all and choose who you're comfortable with. He sat across from her. I'm not trying to control everything, Amara. But Seoul is where I need to be, and I'm not leaving you behind again. She took a bite of melon, considering. He was trying, she'd give him that. And she had agreed to this, to 6 months of trying to make it work. Fine. But I want to keep going to prenatal classes. And I want to meet with a therapist by the end of the week. I'll arrange it. They ate in silence for a few minutes before Amara asked the question that had been nagging at her since last night. How did you find me? I was so careful. Min-jun's expression turned grim. You were careful. It took me 4 months to even get a lead. But you made one mistake. You sent an email to your friend in Nigeria from an internet cafe. My people were monitoring all your known contacts. We traced the location, and from there it was just a matter of time. Amara's heart sank. She'd sent that email to let her best friend Zainab know she was alive. One moment of weakness, of loneliness, and it had unraveled everything. I've been monitoring your medical appointments too, Min-jun continued. When I found out you were pregnant, I had to confirm it was mine. The doctor's office wasn't as secure as they thought. I got a sample for DNA testing. That's incredibly illegal. I'm aware. He didn't look remotely apologetic. But I needed to know. And when the results came back showing the baby was mine, his hand clenched around his coffee cup. I've never been so angry and so happy at the same time. You were carrying my child and you didn't tell me. You ran away and planned to raise my baby without me ever knowing. To protect them. To protect myself. I understand that now. I don't like it, but I understand. He set down his cup and looked directly at her. I know I'm not an easy man to love. I know my world is dangerous and dark. But that baby is half me and half you. They deserve to know both their parents. And when they're old enough to ask what you do for a living, what will you tell them? The truth. That I run a business empire, some parts legal, some not. That I make difficult decisions and sometimes those decisions hurt people. But that everything I do is to protect our family and ensure they never want for anything. Money isn't everything, Min-jun. Says someone who's never been without it. His tone wasn't harsh, just matter of fact. I grew up in poverty, Amara. I know what it's like to be hungry, to be powerless, to watch your mother work herself to death and still not have enough. I built this empire so no one I love would ever experience that. She'd never heard him talk about his childhood before. I didn't know. I don't talk about it. But you're going to be my wife, the mother of my child. You should know where I come from. He leaned back in his chair. My father was a low-level enforcer for a crime family. He was killed when I was 8. My mother tried to keep us afloat, but Seoul isn't kind to poor single mothers. She died when I was 15. The family my father worked for took me in, taught me the business. I was good at it. Very good. By 25, I was running my own operations. By 30, I'd taken over the entire Kwan family organization. And the people you had to kill to get there were people who would have killed me first. This world doesn't allow for weakness or mercy, Amara. I did what I had to do to survive and then to thrive. She could see the hard truth in his eyes. Min-jun hadn't chosen this life because he enjoyed violence. He'd chosen it because it was the only path he'd seen to power and security. That didn't make it right, but it made it more understandable. I still don't want that life for our child, she said quietly. Neither do I. Why do you think I've been working to legitimize more of my business operations? I want to build something my child can be proud of, something they can inherit without blood on their hands. Can you really walk away from the criminal side? Not entirely. Not yet. But I can minimize it, keep it separate. It's going to take time. He reached across the table and took her hand. That's why I need you. You make me want to be better, do better. These past 6 months without you, I've been slipping back into old patterns. Solving everything with violence and intimidation. You're the only thing that makes me want to be more than just a gangster. His words hit her harder than she'd expected. She'd never thought of herself as Min-jun's moral compass, but maybe that's what she'd been. Maybe that's why he'd been so desperate to find her. That's a lot of pressure to put on one person, she said. I know. And it's not fair. But it's the truth. He squeezed her hand gently. I'm not asking you to fix me or save me. I'm just asking you to be by my side while I try to fix myself. Amara looked at their joined hands, his so much larger than hers, scarred and calloused from violence, and yet holding hers with such careful tenderness. This man was a walking contradiction, capable of such brutality and such gentleness. 6 months, she reminded him. And if this doesn't work, then I'll keep my word. But I'm going to do everything in my power to make it work. They flew back to Seoul that afternoon in Min-jun's private jet. Amara had never been on a private plane before her relationship with Min-jun, and the luxury still felt surreal. The crew treated her with careful deference, clearly aware of who she was to their boss. During the flight, Min-jun worked on his laptop while Amara read a book about childbirth that made her increasingly nervous. She was going to be a mother in 2 months. 2 months. And now she was going to be married to a mafia boss. Her life had taken such a strange turn. You're thinking too loud, Min-jun said without looking up from his screen. I'm allowed to think loudly. I'm having a crisis. He closed the laptop and gave her his full attention. Talk to me. I don't know if I can do this. Any of this. Marriage, motherhood, living in your world. You're stronger than you think. You don't know that. Yes, I do. You survived 6 months on your own, pregnant and hiding, in a country that's not your home. You learned enough Korean to get by. You found work and housing and made a life for yourself. That takes incredible strength. He moved to sit beside her. And you stood up to me last night when I was threatening you. Most people fold when I pull a gun. You negotiated terms. I was terrified. But you did it anyway. That's what courage is. She wanted to believe him, wanted to believe she was strong enough for what lay ahead. But doubt gnawed at her. What if I'm a terrible mother? What if I can't handle raising a child in your world? Then we figure it out together. Neither of us has done this before. We're both going to make mistakes. His hand moved to her belly, and she felt the baby kick against his palm. His expression softened completely. But this little one is already so loved. That's what matters most. Watching him feel their baby move, seeing the wonder in his eyes, Amara felt something shift inside her. Maybe this could work. Maybe they could find a way to build a family despite all the obstacles. Or maybe she was just fooling herself. The penthouse in Seoul was exactly as she remembered it, all clean lines and expensive furniture with a view that stretched across the entire city. But Min Jun had made changes. One of the spare rooms had been converted into a nursery. I started working on it a few weeks ago, he explained as she stood in the doorway, staring at the crib and changing table and shelves already filling with toys and books. I didn't know if we were having a boy or a girl, so I kept the colors neutral. The walls were painted a soft sage green with white trim. There was a rocking chair by the window, a mobile hanging above the crib with little felt animals. It was beautiful and thoughtful and completely overwhelming. When did you have time to do all this? I didn't sleep much after I found out about the baby. Giving orders for the nursery gave me something to focus on besides my anger that you'd left. He stepped into the room. If you don't like it, we can change everything. I want you to be comfortable here. Amara walked to the crib and ran her hand over the smooth wood. It's perfect, she admitted. Really beautiful. She could feel him relax behind her. There's something else I need to show you. He led her to the master bedroom and opened the closet. Half of it was filled with her clothes, things she'd left behind when she'd run, along with new items that matched her style perfectly. I couldn't get rid of your things, he said quietly. I kept thinking you'd come back for them. That you'd come back for me. The vulnerability in his voice made her chest ache. She turned to look at him and saw the truth written all over his face. He'd been devastated when she'd left. This powerful, dangerous man had been broken by her absence. I thought about coming back, she confessed. So many times in the beginning. But I was afraid. Of me? Of losing myself completely. Of becoming just an extension of you instead of my own person. He nodded slowly. I understand that fear. And I'm sorry I made you feel that way. I've never been good at sharing power or control. But I'm going to learn. He cupped her face gently. You're not an extension of me, Amara. You're the best part of my life. The part that makes everything else worthwhile. She closed her eyes, leaning into his touch despite her reservations. This is still so complicated. The best things usually are. They were interrupted by a knock on the door. Min Jun's expression immediately hardened, shifting from vulnerable to commanding in a heartbeat. What? He called out. One of his men opened the door slightly. Sir, there's a situation that needs your attention. It's urgent. Min Jun's jaw clenched. I'll be there in a moment. He turned back to Amara. I need to handle some business. Stay in the penthouse. My men will be right outside if you need anything. What kind of situation? Nothing you need to worry about. Min Jun. I promise to keep you separate from the violent parts of my world. That starts now. I'll be back as soon as I can. He kissed her forehead and was gone before she could protest. And just like that, she was alone in the penthouse, surrounded by luxury and guards and the life she'd run away from. Amara spent the evening exploring the penthouse, reacquainting herself with the space. She found her favorite book still on the shelf, the tea she liked in the kitchen. Minjun had kept everything exactly as she'd left it, like a shrine to what they'd had. It was touching and disturbing in equal measure. Around 9 o'clock, she heard the penthouse door open and voices in the entryway. She walked out to find Minjun with blood on his shirt. "Oh my God, are you hurt?" "It's not my blood." He immediately held up his hands. "I'm fine. I just need to shower and change." "What happened?" "Business. Like I said, nothing you need to worry about. There's blood on your shirt. That makes it something to worry about." He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "A rival organization tried to move into our territory while I was in Busan. I had to remind them why that was a bad idea. It got messy." "How messy?" "No one died, if that's what you're asking. But the message was sent clearly." He started toward the bedroom. "I'll clean up. We can have dinner after." Amara stood in the middle of the living room, staring after him. This was her life now. This was what she'd agreed to. Minjun coming home with blood on his clothes and refusing to give her details. How long before that blood was his own? How long before someone succeeded in killing him and she was left alone with a baby? She was spiraling into anxiety when her phone rang. An unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Hello. Amara." A woman's voice, speaking accented English. "You don't know me, but I know Minjun very well. And I think we should meet." "Who is this?" "Someone who can tell you the truth about the man you're marrying. About what he's really capable of. Meet me tomorrow at the cafe in Itaewon at 2 o'clock. Come alone, or I won't show." The line went dead. Amara stared at her phone, heart racing. Who was that? What truth was there to tell that she didn't already know? Minjun was a criminal, a killer. She'd already seen the worst of him. Hadn't she? When Minjun emerged from the shower, clean and in fresh clothes, she almost told him about the call. But something held her back. Maybe it was the memory of him keeping secrets from her. Maybe it was her own need to know everything before she committed to this marriage. "You okay?" he asked, studying her face. "You look upset." "Just tired. And worried about you coming home covered in blood. I'll try to avoid that in the future." He guided her to the dining table where food had been laid out. "Sit. Eat. You need to keep your strength up." They ate in relative silence, the tension between them thick. Amara couldn't stop thinking about the mysterious phone call, and Minjun seemed distracted by whatever had happened during his business. "I found a therapist," he said suddenly. "She specializes in high-conflict relationships and has very high security clearance. We have an appointment on Friday." That was fast. "I told you I keep my word. And I meant what I said about making this work." He reached across the table for her hand. "I know tonight was difficult. Seeing me like that. But I'm trying to keep you separate from the worst of it." "The worst of it still exists, Minjun. Keeping me separate doesn't make it go away." "No, but it protects you from the details. From the nightmares." "I already have nightmares. About the night I saw you kill that man. About the kidnapping attempt. About you dying and leaving me alone." His grip on her hand tightened. "I'm not going to die. You can't promise that. Not in your line of work." "Then I'll be very, very careful. Because I have everything to live for now." He brought her hand to his lips. "You and our baby are my entire world, Amara. I'm not going to leave you." She wanted to believe him. But the blood on his shirt was a harsh reminder that promises didn't stop bullets. That night, she lay in the guest room she'd requested, listening to the sounds of the city below and wondering what she was doing. Tomorrow she would meet this mysterious woman and hear whatever truth she had to tell. Then she'd decide if this 6 months was even possible. The baby kicked, a strong thump against her ribs, and she pressed her hand to the spot. "I'm trying to do the right thing," she whispered. "I really am. I just don't know what that is anymore." If you're loving this story so far, don't forget to hit that like button and drop a comment telling me what you think is going to happen next. Should Amara meet this mysterious woman? What secrets is she about to uncover? Keep watching because things are about to get even more intense. The next day, Amara told Minjun she wanted to go shopping for baby clothes. He'd immediately offered to come with her, but she'd insisted she wanted to do it alone, to have some independence. After some negotiation, he'd agreed, but with 2 guards following at a distance. She'd made a show of shopping in Myeongdong, buying a few items before heading to Itaewon and losing the guards in the crowd. She'd gotten good at disappearing during her months in hiding. The cafe was a small, quiet place tucked away from the main street. Amara arrived 10 minutes early and chose a table in the back corner, her heart hammering. At exactly 2 o'clock, a woman walked in. She was Korean, probably in her mid-30s, beautiful and elegant in an expensive dress. She spotted Amara immediately and walked over. "Thank you for coming," she said, sitting down without invitation. "I wasn't sure you would." "Who are you?" "My name is Yoon Seo-yeon. I was engaged to Minjun 3 years ago." Amara's stomach dropped. He never mentioned being engaged. "I'm not surprised. Our engagement wasn't based on love. It was a business arrangement between families. But I thought I could make it work. I thought I could be enough for him." Seo-yeon's smile was bitter. "I was wrong. What happened? I made the mistake of falling in love with him. And when you love Minjun, you see how incapable he is of loving you back. Oh, he's possessive. He'll kill for you, die for you, lock you up to keep you safe. But actual love? Healthy, balanced love? He doesn't know how. Why are you telling me this? Because you're pregnant with his child. Because he's going to marry you and trap you in a golden cage like he tried to do with me. And I thought you deserved to know what you're getting into." Amara's hands clenched around her water glass. "I already know what he is." "Do you? Do you know that he had my brother killed when our engagement fell through? That he considered it a betrayal and made my family pay?" The cafe seemed to tilt around her. "What? My brother was involved in some illegal business, true. But Minjun used that as an excuse. He made it look like a gang war, but it was personal. It was punishment for me leaving him." Seo-yeon leaned forward. "Minjun doesn't let go of what he considers his. Ever. You left him, and he found you. Now you're pregnant, which gives him even more claim over you. Do you really think he'll let you leave after 6 months? No matter what he promised? You don't know what he promised me. I know Minjun. I know how he operates. And I'm telling you now, you need to run. Take your baby and disappear before it's too late. I can help you. I have resources, connections he doesn't know about." Amara's mind was reeling. Could this woman be telling the truth? Had Minjun really killed her brother out of spite? "Why would you help me?" "Because I don't want another woman to suffer what I did. And because if there's a child involved, you need to protect them. Minjun will love that baby in his own twisted way, but he'll also use them to control you. Every day for the rest of your life. I need to think." "There's no time to think. He probably already knows you're here. Those guards you thought you lost? Minjun always has backup you don't know about." Seo-yeon slid a card across the table. "This is a secure number. Call me when you're ready to disappear for real. I can have you out of the country within 12 hours. She stood up and walked out, leaving Amara sitting alone with her thoughts spiraling out of control. Was Seo Yun telling the truth? Had Min Jun killed her brother? Could she really trust him to keep his word about letting her go? She didn't know. And that uncertainty was terrifying. Amara left the cafe in a daze and made her way back to the shopping district, buying a few more items to maintain her cover story. When she emerged onto the street, one of Min Jun's guards was waiting. "Ma'am, we lost you for a bit." Mr. Kwon was concerned. "I'm fine. Just got distracted shopping." The guard looked skeptical but didn't push. They drove back to the penthouse in silence. Min Jun was waiting when she walked in, his expression thunderous. "Where were you?" "Shopping, like I said." "You lost your guards." "I didn't mean to." The crowds were thick. He stepped closer, eyes searching her face. "You're lying to me." "I'm not. Amara, I can read you like a book." "What happened?" She could lie. She could keep the meeting with Seo Yun secret. But if they were going to make this work, didn't that require honesty? Even when it was difficult. "I met with a woman named Yoon Seo Yun," she said quietly. "She called me yesterday and asked to meet." Min Jun's expression went absolutely still, which was somehow more frightening than anger. "What did she tell you?" "That you were engaged to her. That you had her brother killed when she broke it off. And you believed her." "I don't know what to believe." He turned away, hands clenched into fists. "Seo Yun and I were engaged." "That's true. It was an arranged marriage between families, meant to consolidate power. But I called it off, not her." "Why?" "Because I realized I couldn't marry someone I didn't love. That I didn't want a marriage of convenience. I wanted something real." He looked back at her. "And yes, her brother died. He was killed in a territorial dispute with a rival gang. I had nothing to do with it. She seemed very convinced you were responsible. Seo Yun has been trying to destroy me for 3 years because she blames me for her brother's death. She's working with my enemies, feeding them information, trying to undermine my business." His voice was cold now. "And now she's trying to turn you against me. How do I know you're telling the truth? How do you know she is?" He crossed to her in 2 long strides. "I told you I've never lied to you. Not once. I've kept secrets, yes. I've hidden parts of my world from you. But I have never, ever directly lied to your face." Amara wanted to believe him. But Seo Yun had been so convincing, so sincere in her warning. "I'm scared, Min Jun. I'm scared of making the wrong choice. Of trusting the wrong person. Of putting our baby in danger." His expression softened. "I know. And I don't blame you for being scared. But you need to decide right now who you're going to trust. Me or a woman who has every reason to want to hurt me. I just need time to think." "No. Because if you're doubting me this much, if you're considering running again, then we need to deal with it now." He pulled out his phone and made a call. "Bring her up." "What are you doing?" "Giving you proof." 5 minutes later, the penthouse door opened and a young Korean woman entered, flanked by 2 guards. She looked terrified. "This is Park Ji-woo," Min Jun said. "She worked for Seo Yun until last week. Tell Amara what you told me." The woman's voice shook as she spoke in English. "Miss Yoon has been planning to get to you for weeks. She found out about the baby and saw an opportunity. She wanted me to befriend you, gain your trust, and convince you that Mr. Kwon was dangerous. That you needed to run." "Why?" Amara asked. "Because she's working with the Choi family. They're Min Jun's biggest rivals. If she can get you to run with the baby, it creates chaos in his organization. Makes him distracted and vulnerable. They're planning to move against him in the next month." Min Jun's jaw clenched. "Ji-woo came to me when she realized the plan put a pregnant woman and baby in danger. She couldn't go through with it." "Is that true?" Amara asked the woman. "All of it." Ji-woo nodded, tears in her eyes. I'm sorry. I didn't know about the baby at first. Miss Yoon said she just wanted to hurt Mr. Kwan's business. But then I found out you were pregnant, and I realized it was wrong. Using an innocent woman and child as weapons. Amara felt sick. She'd almost fallen for it. Almost trusted Seo-yun and put herself and the baby in even more danger. Thank you for telling me, she said to Ji-woo. That took courage. Min-jun dismissed the woman and his guards, leaving them alone again. The silence stretched between them, heavy with everything unsaid. I'm sorry, Amara finally whispered. I should have trusted you. You barely know me anymore. 6 months apart, and now all of this. I understand why you doubted. He sat down heavily on the couch. But Amara, we can't build anything if you're always waiting for me to betray you. If you're always looking for a reason to run. I know. So what do you want to do? Because I can't keep wondering if you're going to disappear every time I turn my back. She sat beside him, hands resting on her belly where their baby was doing somersaults. I want to try. Really try. No more secrets, no more running. We figure this out together. No more secrets means you need to tell me everything. Including when you're scared or doubting or thinking about leaving. And you need to tell me about your business. Not every detail, but enough that I understand what we're facing. No more coming home covered in blood and telling me not to worry about it. He nodded slowly. I can do that. It won't be pretty. I'm not asking for pretty. I'm asking for honest. He pulled her close, and she let herself relax against him for the first time since he'd found her in Busan. This was still complicated, still scary, still potentially a disaster. But at least they were being honest about it. The Choi family is planning to move against me, Min-jun said quietly. They've been waiting for a weakness, and they think you're it. That I'll be distracted protecting you and the baby. Are they right? Partially. But they don't know that being distracted by you also makes me more dangerous. Because now I have something worth burning the world for. His words should have scared her. Instead, they made her feel safer than she had in months. What are you going to do? End the threat before it reaches you. Ji-woo's information gives me the advantage. They don't know I'm aware of their plans. His hand moved to her belly. But it's going to get ugly in the next few weeks. I need you to stay in the penthouse, surrounded by guards. I need you to trust me to handle it. Will you promise to come back? Every time. I promise to do everything in my power to come back to you and our baby. That's all I can honestly promise. It wasn't enough, but it would have to be. This was the reality of loving Min-jun, uncertainty and danger mixed with fierce devotion and protection. Okay, she said. I'll stay put. I'll trust you. But Min-jun. Yes. If you die on me, I'm going to be really angry. He laughed, a surprised sound that lightened the tension. Noted. I'll try to avoid that. They sat together as the sun set over Seoul, two people from completely different worlds trying to build something that might work. It was fragile and complicated and probably doomed. But for now, for this moment, it was theirs. The next 2 weeks were the strangest of Amara's life. Min-jun kept his word about being honest, giving her daily updates on the situation with the Choi family. She learned more about his world than she'd ever wanted to know, the intricate web of alliances and betrayals, the constant calculations of power and control. He also kept his word about the therapist. Dr. Kim was a no-nonsense woman in her 50s who took one look at them and said, "This is going to take a lot of work." In their first session, she'd made them each list their fears and expectations. Amara's list was long: fear of losing herself, fear for the baby's safety, fear of Min-jun's world consuming them, fear of him dying. Her expectations were simpler: honesty, respect, space to be her own person. Min-jun's list was shorter but more intense: fear of losing Amara and the baby, fear of not being enough, fear of his world destroying what they were building. His expectations: that she would stay, that she would trust him, that she would let him protect them. Dr. Kim had pointed out the common thread. You're both terrified and both trying to control the outcome. But you can't control everything. You need to learn to sit with the uncertainty. Easier said than done. But they were trying. They had dinner together every night, talked about everything from baby names to Minjun's childhood to Amara's dreams of starting her own consulting business. Slowly, they were rebuilding what had been broken. And then everything exploded. Amara was in the nursery, organizing baby clothes, when she heard shouting from the living room. She rushed out to find Minjun surrounded by his men, all of them armed. What's happening? The Choi family moved faster than we expected. They've taken 3 of my warehouses and killed 7 of my men. This is war. His face was hard, all business. I need to go. Now. Minjun. I'm doubling your security. No one in or out without my approval. I'll be back as soon as I can. Please be careful. He crossed to her, cupping her face in his hands. I love you. I've never said it enough, but I love you more than anything in this world. If something happens. Don't say goodbye like that. If something happens, he continued firmly, there are instructions in the safe. Money, passports, contacts. Everything you and the baby will need. The code is your birthday. Tears were streaming down her face. I don't want money and passports. I want you. And I want to come back to you. But if I don't. She kissed him, desperate and fierce. Come back. That's an order. He smiled against her lips. Yes, ma'am. And then he was gone, taking his men and leaving her in the penthouse with guards stationed at every entrance. She paced for hours, unable to sit still, her phone clutched in her hand waiting for news. It came at midnight. But not from Minjun. A video link, sent from an unknown number. With shaking hands, she opened it. The video showed a warehouse, dark and grimy. And in the center, tied to a chair, was Minjun. He was bleeding from a cut above his eye, his shirt torn, but alive. A man's voice spoke in Korean, and subtitles appeared at the bottom of the screen. This is the price of pride. Minjun Kwon thought he was untouchable. But everyone bleeds. Everyone breaks. And soon, everyone will know that the Kwon family has fallen. The video ended. Amara screamed, the sound ripping from her throat as panic seized her. The guards rushed in, and she showed them the video with shaking hands. We need to find him. Now. Ma'am, we have people working on it. Mr. Kwon has protocols for this. I don't care about protocols. He's hurt and captured and we need to get him back. But there was nothing she could do. She was trapped in the penthouse, pregnant and helpless, while the man she loved was in the hands of his enemies. She'd never felt more powerless in her life. Hours crawled by. Amara sat on the couch, hands on her belly, talking to the baby. Your father is going to be fine. He's strong and smart and he'll find a way back to us. He promised. He promised. At 3 a.m, her phone rang. Minjun's number. Hello. Amara. His voice was rough, pained, but alive. I'm okay. Where are you? I saw the video. I got out. My men found me. I'm at a safe house getting patched up. How bad is it? Nothing life-threatening. Cracked rib, some cuts and bruises. I'll heal. Relief flooded through her so intensely she started sobbing. I thought I'd lost you. Never. I promised to come back, didn't I? When will you be home? Few hours. I need to finish something first. Minjun, no. Come home. Please. They took me. They hurt me. They sent you that video to terrorize you. His voice went cold. That requires a response. It requires you to be safe. To be here with me. I'll be there soon. I promise. But first, I need to make sure they never threaten my family again. The line went dead. Amara wanted to scream. He was hurt, and instead of coming home, he was going after the Choi family. This was his world, this cycle of violence and revenge that never ended. And she was choosing to be part of it. Min-jun came home at dawn, moving stiffly and sporting a bandage over his ribs and a line of stitches above his eyebrow. But he was alive. Amara met him at the door and very carefully wrapped her arms around him, mindful of his injuries. You're an idiot. I know. You're reckless and stubborn, and you're going to give me a heart attack. I know. And I love you. So much it terrifies me. He pulled back to look at her face. Say that again. I love you, Min-jun. I've loved you this whole time, even when I ran, even when I was hiding. I just didn't know how to love you without losing myself. You won't lose yourself. I won't let that happen. He kissed her softly. I love you too. And I'm sorry for scaring you tonight. Is it over? The war with the Choi family? It is now. We came to an understanding. She didn't ask for details. Some things she was better off not knowing. Over the next week, Min-jun healed and things slowly returned to a new version of normal. They continued therapy with Dr. Kim, who pointed out that their relationship had survived a major crisis, which was actually a good sign. You both chose each other when it would have been easier to walk away, she said. That's significant. Amara's due date was approaching, and despite everything, she found herself getting excited. The nursery was ready, they'd taken prenatal classes together, and Min-jun had read every parenting book he could find. I want to be a good father, he told her one night. Better than mine was. You will be. You're already so devoted to this baby, and they're not even born yet. This baby is my redemption. My chance to create something good in a life that's been mostly dark. You're good too, Min-jun, complicated and dangerous, yes. But good. He'd pulled her close, and she'd felt safe despite everything. 2 weeks before her due date, Min-jun came home with a small box. I know I already gave you an ultimatum about marriage, and that's not how it should have gone. So I'm doing this right. He got down on one knee, which made her laugh and cry at the same time because he looked so serious and so vulnerable. Amara, you are the light in my darkness, the reason I want to be better, the only woman I've ever truly loved. Will you marry me? Not because I'm threatening you or forcing you, but because you want to build a life with me. She looked at the ring, a simple but stunning diamond, and then at the man offering it. He was a criminal, a killer, dangerous and possessive. But he was also devoted, passionate, and trying so hard to be the man she needed. Yes, she said. Yes, I'll marry you. He slid the ring on her finger and kissed her, and for the first time since this all began, Amara felt like they might actually make it. They were married quietly a week later, just the two of them and Dr. Kim as a witness, in the penthouse overlooking Seoul. Amara wore a simple white maternity dress, Min-jun wore a suit, and they exchanged vows they'd written themselves. I promise to let you be your own person, Min-jun said. To support your dreams, to give you space when you need it, and to never use my power to control you. I promise to protect you and our child with everything I have, and to come home to you every single time. I promise to trust you, Amara said. To communicate when I'm scared instead of running. To build this life with you even when it's hard, and to love you through all the complications. I promise to be your partner, not your possession. They sealed it with a kiss, and just like that, Amara became Mrs. Kwan. 3 days later, at 2 in the morning, her water broke. Min-jun, she gasped, gripping her belly as another contraction hit. He was already moving, phone in hand, calling his driver. We're going to the hospital. Now. But as they rushed to the elevator, his phone rang. The number that only called when there was a crisis. Not now, he growled into the phone. Whatever the voice said made his face go pale. He looked at Amara, then at the phone, torn between two impossible choices. Min-jun. Amara's voice shook. What's wrong? The Choi family, he said quietly. They're moving against us right now. If I go to the hospital, my entire organization could fall. But if I don't? Another contraction hit, and Amara doubled over. This was the moment. The choice that would define everything. Wait, you didn't think I was going to leave you hanging like that, did you? Actually, yes I am. But here's the thing, part 2 of this story is already written, and it's even more intense than what you just watched. I'm talking about the birth, the ultimate betrayal, a character you thought was dead coming back, and a twist that will make you question everything you just saw. But I need something from you first. If we can get this video to 10,000 views and this channel to 5,000 subscribers, I will drop part 2 immediately. And trust me, you need to see what happens next because the story you just watched. That's just the beginning. Here's what I need you to do right now. Smash that like button if you're invested in Amara and Minjun's story. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss part 2 when it drops. Comment below and tell me, do you think Minjun will choose Amara and the baby, or his empire? What do you think happens at the hospital? Who do you think is the real threat? Share this video with at least 3 people who love intense romance stories. And here's a hint about part 2. Someone from Amara's past shows up at the hospital. Someone Minjun has never met. Someone who claims the baby might not be his after all. Is it true? Is someone trying to destroy them from the inside? What happens when Minjun's world and Amara's past collide during the most vulnerable moment of their lives? Drop a fire in the comments if you need part 2 right now, and tell me where you're watching from. Remember, 10K views, 5,000 subscribers, and part 2 is yours. The clock is ticking, and so is Amara's labor. What are you waiting for? Let's hit those numbers and find out what happens next. I'll see you in part 2. If you can get us there. Until then, stay on the edge of your seat.